The preliminary report of the investigation into the Air India Dreamliner crash in Ahmedabad on June 12th has been released, and one of the key findings confirms that both engines of the plane had shut down mid-air within seconds of takeoff. The report by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau into the crash of the Boeing Dreamliner 7878, in which at least 270 people were killed, including 241 of the 242 on board, said that the fuel cutoff switches, which control the flow of fuel to the engines, transitioned from run to cutoff position one after another within a second of each other. Now, crucially, in the cockpit voice recording, one pilot can be heard asking the other, "Why did you cut off?" to which the other pilot replies, "I did not do so." The fact that the switches transition to cut off, starving the engines of fuel, is expected to be the key focus area of the investigation going forward. The report, released after 1 a.m. on Saturday, notes that as seen in the footage of the crash, the ram air turbine, which is the RAT system, was deployed, indicating a total loss of power and thrust in the aircraft. Data from the Enhanced Airborne Flight Recorder, which is the EAFR and is commonly known as the black box, revealed that both switches were moved back to the run position, and while engine 1 showed signs of recovery after this, engine 2 could not do so. The aircraft was airborne only for 32 seconds. And the report also notes that it travelled only 0.9 nautical miles before crashing into the BJ Medical College hostel close to the airport. Now, the crash occurred at 1:39 p.m. on the 12th of June, and the report said that while the thrust levers were found near the idle position, the data from the black box revealed that they were in the forward position until the impact. Both fuel control switches were also in the run position, and another crucial observation, in fact, made by the AAIB is that there is no immediate evidence of sabotage. The investigating body noted that the Federal Aviation Authority had issued an advisory in 2018 about the fuel control switches. So, we now take a look at this preliminary investigation report, and over here it clearly mentions that while all applicable airworthiness directives and alert service bulletins were complied on the aircraft as well as the engines, it makes clear mention of the Federal Aviation Authority's a special airworthiness information bulletin, which was issued on December 17th, 2018 regarding the potential disengagement of the fuel control switch locking feature. So, clear mention of the SAIB, and this was issued, of course, based on reports from operators of model 737 airplanes of Boeing. However, what we also see is that the airworthiness concern was not considered an unsafe condition that would warrant a directive. Now, what is also to be noted over here is that a similar switch design is installed in various Boeing models, including the Boeing 7878, which of course was the aircraft involved in the Ahmedabad air crash. Now, here the report also clearly speaks a big revelation coming in from the report, where it states that as per the information from Air India, the suggested inspections on this issue raised were not carried out, as the SAIB was advisory and not mandatory in nature. So, Air India, of course, has stated that the inspections suggested were not carried out, as they were merely advisory in nature. Now, we also here have at Newsx accessed the special airworthiness information bulletin. Here you can see issued by the Federal Aviation Administration on December 17th, and in 2018, as far back as 2018, this issue was flagged, where the bulletin advises registered owners and operators of various Boeing models, which also here includes the 7878, of the potential for disengagement of the fuel control locking feature. Now, what is also to be looked at over here is that the report clearly states that the inadvertent operation of the switch, which can happen if the locking feature is disengaged. Now, this could lead to unintended consequences such as an in-flight engine shutdown. So, a clear advisory issued in 2018, and of course this is what we are seeing took place, and here is the recommendation made by the FAA, which is to inspect the locking feature of the fuel control switch to ensure engagement while the aircraft is on the ground, and to check if the switch can be moved between the two positions without lifting up the switch. If it can, the locking feature has been disengaged and the switch should be replaced at the earliest opportunity. So, of course, this is what we are seeing. Air India has also now stated that it did not carry out these suggested checks, as they were merely advisory in nature. But I have at this point of time my colleague Anand Singh joining me live on the broadcast. Anand, clear mention to the SAIB issued in 2018, and Air India has said that as the suggestions were merely advisory, it did not carry out the checks, and the SAIB, as we saw, also warned of such an inadvertent operation in this case, leading to a mid-air shutdown of the engines. So, please take us through the details and also what we are learning with regards to Air India statements that we just looked at.
The way in which the SAIB had issued an advisory in 2018, but it was not mandatory for all the aircrafts of the Boeing family to carry out that kind of change in the fuel cutoff switches that was located just below the thrust lever. So clearly, Air India also stated that it was just an advisory, and thus it was not mandatory for any of the airline to carry out that. Thus, they had not taken up that thing. But now the way in which the AAIB, that is the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau, that has carried out the preliminary report after conducting probe for over last 1 month into the tragic air crash of Air India's AI-171 London Gatwick bound flight that crashed just moments after taking off from the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Airport. So the report has highlighted that how the switches, the cutoff switch was switched off in the position moments after it took its flew from the Sardar Vallabhbhai International Airports. And when one of the pilot asked, why did you cut the switch, that has been revealed due to the FDR recorders that were analyzed after extracting the data of the black box. So the another pilot said that he did not did so. So clearly, this will once again shift the focus of the investigators in the coming days, that how the switch went off, whether it was an accidental measure taken by any of the pilots or whether it happened automatically. So this will be under consideration by the AAIB and other investigators who are probing this Air India crash. Whereas if we mention about the complete flight data that has been downloaded and analyzed by the AAIB in the last 1 month, as both the black boxes were recovered, one on 13th of June, whereas the another one on 16th of June, and then brought to the Delhi on 24th and 25th June. So clearly their complete data were downloaded, as one of the black boxes was majorly damaged, but they were able to download those data. And in those data, they have found that how the switch was off just after 10 seconds. And then when the switch was put off, the fuel switch especially, then after 10 seconds, the pilots once again tried to revive the engine as they switched on the cutoff switch, and they tried to gain thrust from the engine so that they can gain altitude and momentum for airworthiness. So clearly, they were having some trouble while deciding so, as there was very less time, because the Air India flight was flying at a height of only 650 feet. And then the report also highlighted that how the RAT was deployed to provide additional support to the engine so that it can lift up. But before the engines could generate enough thrust, it had crash landed on VJ Medical College hostel building, which killed 260 people in total out of 242 on board, 241 had died. One was the sole survivor of British national of Indian origin, whereas 19 people had died on the ground, leaving 67 others injured. So clearly, these are the details that the AAIB has shared in its report. The AIB also said that in its report it highlighted there was no such bird hit in this flight as that could have led to the reason why both the engine has lost thrust while taking off from the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. They also said that even the weight of the
Well,
aircraft
Anand,
that
thank you for joining us with those details. Stay on with us. In fact, I also